Welcome to the official Sasquatch and Squirrel Show. Today, we're going to discuss probably a couple of different topics, but they're kind of connected. You know what I'm kind of tired of, Tim?
What's that?
Are these people that walk around grocery stores telling you what you should and should not eat.
Oh yeah, I've seen these assholes. Are they doctors?
No, most of them are not. Most of them don't even have a basic understanding of how nutrition works, let alone metabolics and all this other thing. And I'm not saying that I do, but I have, before I became a surgical technologist, I was a chef. So we have to take a nutrition course.
Right.
As I've studied and became a surgical tech, and then, and just out of my own natural curiosity, I have kind of learned about how things work with food and how it's processed in the body and how your body uses it for energy or fuel or whatever you want to call it. So that being said, there is a plethora of these idiots walking around grocery stores and just telling. I think I sent you one where one guy was like, "You should never drink cold water before a meal."
Oh yeah, what a stupid person.
And he's like, because it closes up for lack of a better term, I think he said the pores in your stomach. I'm like, just stop. And
Oh my god.
these other people, and then like my other one is like like Coke Zero causes cancer. Yeah, in rats and mice. In order for that to affect us, and trust me, I'm not saying you should drink this stuff every day. I'm not an advocate for it.
Yeah, me either.
But if you enjoy it, drink it. But understand that it's water is the best thing you could drink.
Yeah.
But also don't listen to these people because they're usually schlepping some sort of ridiculous supplement that's not even been tested by any governing body. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like they get some kind of endorsement and they're trying to push a product on people. So it's like, this is what I push because blah blah blah. Well, I'll tell you too. Like I am nowhere near a doctor nor the health industry at all. I've also avoided the health industry as long as I could. But a few things that I've learned along the way about my own health is I do know that when I drink cold water, one, I like cold water. I'll drink cold water and I prefer cold water. I don't really like room temperature because I just don't care for it, right? But
Right.
I do also understand, and I've heard this a long time ago, that your body has to warm up again after you drink something cold. So therefore, you're burning energy. And me, I'm on a weight loss journey right now because I've
Mm-hmm.
just got tired of the whole, being rotund. So I've been on a carnivore diet.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to do everything I can safely to lose weight.
Yeah.
So,
In order to lose weight, you need to be in a caloric deficit, and a normal diet is 2,000 calories. Usually. In order to be in a deficit, anything lower than 2,000. So I wouldn't recommend going below 1,500 because you have to have those maintenance calories. But the problem with this scenario in this country, being America, is that we have a ridiculous love affair with food
mhm.
in this country.
And for some reason too, sugar, and sugar is in every fucking thing.
Yeah, and it goes back to that study that was done in the 1950s. Is that these scientists were paid to do by somebody that said butter was bad, sugar good,
Hmm.
when it's the exact opposite. So your stuff's like your margarine,
Ugh.
anything that's like highly that kind of stuff is just disgusting. It's margarine is basically plastic from what I've read, and
Yeah.
it's just not good for you. And all that stuff, like I can't believe it's not butter and all, it's all just absolute shit. Get grass fed, high quality butter and cook with that.
Yeah. It may cost a little bit more, but you know, shit that's good for you is unfortunately more expensive.
Which is also that's a whole different topic.
Yeah. But I mean, it's still one of the things that we have to consider when we're considering a diet. And that's the thing. They make the worst shit for you that's tasty. They make that shit
Mm-hmm.
super cheap.
Mm-hmm. If they can make broccoli taste like Oreos,
Man, I'd be
you know
eating
what
the
I mean?
shit out of broccoli every damn day. But I mean, I actually
That's
like
right.
broccoli.
I do too. The way that I cook my broccoli is I just cut it, I cut it, wash it, put it in a pan, saute it with a little bit of olive oil and salt, and that's it. Keep it crunchy, keep it good.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, it's not about one specific type of diet. Like all these, including the carnivore diet,
Hmm.
it's good. I think those kinds of diets are good for the interim,
Hmm.
and if you want to lose weight in a rapid succession. But the long term effects of these types of diets, like, or you're not getting the accurate types of carbs, like your whole grains, fruit, like fresh fruit, that kind of stuff. You have the good type of stuff and the bad type of food. The problem is that we have so much junk and so much misinformation that people can't tell. I know when I come home, like last night I came home from work and I got my butt kicked. I didn't feel like cooking, so I ordered Chinese food, but I got spicy Szechuan beef with brown rice. So instead of having the carbs and the white rice, you have the brown rice. Then again, you'll get some idiot out there that'll say brown rice is bad for you.
Yeah.
It's like you can't win, and so people get frustrated, so they just give up.
Right. And I think the big thing to consider is a lot of people see people that discuss these things like content creators, and they're unfortunately putting out misinformation either through their own ignorance or just, ill will for whatever reason. They're either
Hmm.
motivated by something or they're just ignorant. And,
Hmm.
ignorance can be fixed, but malice cannot.
Right.
So you got to really figure out where your information is coming from, figure out what training these people have had before you actually dial into them.
Hmm.
If it's a doctor, you can almost trust them, but even doctors are dipshits at times,
Oh yeah,
And the thing is, science is forever changing.
yeah,
New information comes out.
exactly. Well, like I started following this guy. His name is Doctor Ides, IDZ.
I think it's
Ids, yeah, ever how you pronounce it. He's an English guy, and he's got a master's in like what is it, nutrition research,
hmm
and he's actually taking the fight to these guys. He's calling them out. Like there was one guy, and he played a video. Um, it was that cold water guy, and he backs it up with facts and science, and it just makes these people look even more dumb. Like one guy on there was saying that a woman should only have a menstrual cycle once every 4 years.
okay.
What in the tom fuckery is that?
Yeah, that okay. One, a male telling anything about a woman's body, he needs to mind his
Yeah,
own fucking business and
yeah,
he shouldn't be allowed to breed.
have a nice tall glass of shut the fuck up,
Yeah,
skunky,
I'm telling you. Because
and mind your own goddamn business.
I don't know who in the fuck told that guy that stuff, but gee
Well, he's
whiz.
one of those hippie doula witches. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, okay, okay, yeah, sure, all right, cool, all right, we'll go with that, Mister Midwife.
Yeah. Yeah, people like that really need to be deplatformed, but freedom of speech, whatever.
Yeah, but no, and that's the thing is, it's up to us to figure out what's, not, and I don't mean you and me, I mean us as individuals to figure out what.
What's fact and fiction?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to figure out what's fact and fiction. Like, like for example, when I go out to eat, it's a rare occasion for me because I try to live a fairly healthy lifestyle and I can cook, so I like to do that for myself and my friends and family.
Kind of spoils you, don't it? When you know how to cook.
It does because like I know that I can make a better steak than going to an Outback or
Oh
a
yeah.
Longhorn or anything like that.
Yeah.
So of course I'm going to do it. But when I go out to eat, I'll get a sugar-free Coke, like a Coke Zero or a Diet Coke or something like that.
Mhm.
Because if you ever tasted water out of in a restaurant,
Oh, dude, it's the
it
funkiest shit ever.
it tastes like it
Some
was,
restaurants, not all.
strained through some fucking hooker's thong, you know?
Some places, like,
It's
dude, you
like,
and I actually went out while we were out and about one time, and we went to an unnamed restaurant.
mhm,
I wasn't on the diet at the time, so I got some sweet tea.
mhm,
And for me, I'm
right.
a Southerner. Sweet tea is like I will judge you harshly if your sweet tea is shit, right?
Yeah,
And I will refuse to eat at a restaurant that has shit sweet tea.
right.
Just the Southerner in me, and that's just the way I am. But it tasted like fucking ass. And then, like, I was like, "Hey, can I get some water?" And they brought the water to me, and it tasted even. I can understand why the tea tasted bad because the water was immediately shit.
Right. But and so I guess to kind of wrap up the nutrition part of things is don't listen to people that do a 30-second video on Instagram or whatever stupid platform it is especially if they're walking around or going to some place where somebody's working and they're shitting on that person's job and they're not backing it up with any type of true scientific data. It's just because I said so.
Yeah, one point I want to take for Dr. Ids, and I do like what he said. Uh,
Mhm.
there was a part where he was talking about uh, just because you can't pronounce the ingredient doesn't mean it's bad for you. And for
Yeah, I
me,
remember it.
and me, I'm a dummy when it comes to chemicals and shit like that. So I don't know what any of this shit is. I mean, we're not educated in that field, right?
Right.
And I honestly think that's something that we should be educated on. And on top of that, just a little bit of a, material data safety sheet, search on a document. And for anybody that doesn't
Mhm.
know what that is, it's a sheet that tells you what a chemical is. So if you don't understand what a chemical is, you can figure out what it is, if there's any issues with it, like health wise or whatnot. And anybody that works in a field that deals with chemicals, they automatically know what I'm talking about.
Exactly. And actually, we have to go through ours very periodically in the OR because we deal with some funky stuff.
Hmm.
But yeah, that was another thing. I'm glad you brought that up because I remember him saying that about how just because you can't pronounce it doesn't mean it's scary. You
Right,
know,
right.
and well, he had another guy on there. It was talking about how vegetables are carcinogens, and I'm like, could you the next time you have a thought, just let that shit go?
Maybe vegetable oil because it's been proven that that shit was actually as industrial solvent or something like that. I started doing some
Maybe
research
I
on
don't
that,
know,
and it is true.
and maybe in certain brands, but not all of them. You know what I mean? Like there can't be a thing like they all can't be fucking shit. And I
Well,
and
I
then the
didn't say
idea,
all, but
well,
like
I know you didn't,
vegetable
but I'm
oil
just yeah,
itself,
mhm,
like the actual
right,
term vegetable oil, that
the
right
blanket
there.
term,
Yeah, yeah. Basically, vegetable oil is soy, and that's the quote unquote vegetable that it comes from. But things like olive oil and shit like that, that's fine. But
right.
vegetable oil itself, shit. I'll never eat it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it depends on there's like how I am. I'm always the skeptic on shit, but it's like I think there's a multitude of factors on that. I think it depends on the brand, the company, and the scruples of said company that make it. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Like I don't, like that's why I mostly cook in butter. I don't really fuck with oil that much. I mean, I'll use olive oil, but that's about it because I don't really like. I don't like the taste of anything else. Like I tried sunflower oil one time for a dish.
That's terrible.
Fucking terrible tasting. Like who thought this was a good idea? But anyways, I
Yeah.
digress. So another one that I follow, his name is Liam. I don't. He's on Instagram and TikTok and all that crap. He is one of these people that there's some things he says I agree with, some things I don't. But he basically he says do what you can afford to do and maintaining health and maintaining a happiness and try to get just he's more positive about it.
Hmm.
And there's a couple of these kids that do, and I say kids because I'm old as shit. Okay, um,
Break your hip talking
that
about
they
this, man.
fuck you, um, but they do. Some of these kids, like there's one kid from England. I think his name is Sean Stacy. He does good work. Liam does really good work too, and it's like because they do this thing where it's they it's a common sense approach to dieting, and
Okay.
it's like not this whole all or nothing shit that we're into. I think you need to have in order just have a good balanced diet of and don't overdo it. And also the reason why people gain weight is not necessarily because of sugar. It's the overeating.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, me too. Like last night, I told you. Remember, we were sitting here playing games, and and, and I said I got 7 pounds of Chinese food in front of me.
Dude, I tell you, Chinese food, little side story for me.
It's crack.
When I was working at the cemetery, uh, I had some of the vault guys take me out to like an all you can eat Chinese buffet. And back then, I was in shape. I was groundskeeper Willie body style. I was in the best shape of my life. They
Right.
took me to this place. I think I had 14 plates of food, and they
Mm-hmm.
were looking at me and like, Tim,
Where you putting it?
I have a question. Where in the fuck are you storing all that shit? I,
Yeah.
and like these guys are burly guys, much taller. Me, I'm 5'6". You know, at the time I was like maybe 150 pounds. You
Right.
know, dude, I was it was so funny because they were just looking at me eat and eat and eat and eat, and these guys right here had maybe 3 plates tops, but they were like small portions of what they were eating. Me, I was
Hmm.
just like, "Oh yeah, I'll go get more." I'm just piling it on the plate. Metabolism was a thing for me.
Right. Yeah. Well, back then you had the metabolism of a hummingbird, and you can probably, like I used to be that way too. When I was in my, I'm 6'4", and I'm hovering around 290 ish right now.
Mhm.
So I've been over 6 foot since I was 12, and it's like I've always been. I need a lot of food now that I'm older, or I should say, I needed a lot of food
Mhm.
when I was younger just to maintain have a baseline of energy.
Yeah.
So now that I'm older, I had to relearn how to eat and listen to my body and say, hey, we're done, no more,
And here's
you're
here's
full.
another thing that I never really understood, and I honestly think that this part of the word obese needs to be really researched a little bit more.
Hmm.
Is somebody who is a bigger fellow that's in really good shape but weighs X amount of pounds because they're
Hmm.
like either a muscle bound monkey or
Right.
maybe has a little bit overweight in some spots, but literally you can look at them and tell they're not a fat person. They're just a big boy or big girl, whatever it may be, just a big
Right.
person, big boned.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're considered obese because of XYZ reason, because of their makeup, right? And I'm like, I don't see that being correct.
No, and that's the category that I fit in. Yeah, I could stand to lose about 20 pounds. You know what I mean? But it's also because like my old doctor and I didn't, I just quit going to him because when I used to work out like a freak back in the day. I was never like super jacked, like but I was in good shape. And he goes, "Oh, because I was 320 pounds at the time, and he wasn't taking into account was muscle weighs more than fat."
Right.
And he was like, "Oh, you're morbidly obese. You got to get on diabetic medication and all this." And I mean, I'm not saying all general practitioners do this, but I'm saying that the trend is getting to be ridiculous with them schlepping diabetic medication now.
Hmm.
And it's like, dude, and I said, I looked at him dead in the face and I said, you're not taking into account my size and the fact that I work out like a crackhead. Not that crackheads work out, but you know what I mean.
And just to define your variables for people who don't speak Phil, can you please describe the definition of the word schlep?
Schlep means sell,
There you go.
sell stuff, like trying to sell medication.
Or whatever.
Yeah, or yeah, whether it's a book or whatever. So but it's still better than speaking Tennessee. Anyways,
Go fuck yourself.
don't tell me what to do with my life. Mind your own goddamn business. Anyways, um,
Everybody sees what I have to put up with on this show. Jesus.
I know, and they got to see what I got to put up with.
Right?
Ugh. But no, I get when when you get home from work and you've been busting your ass all day and you're tired and you don't want to deal with it and you just want to sit down, eat your food, do something mind numbing and go to bed. I understand that.
Hmm.
But it's your life. And no, it's life. No one's going to get out of this shit alive.
Right, right.
But, if I'm lucky or, the good Lord has blessed me with enough years, I'm 45 and I'm lucky if I got 30 good years left,
Hmm.
and that's not probably stretching it. So you got to take what you have and fix it or, you know, treat it a little bit better. And that way it can, cause when you're not, when you get out of your 20s, it starts to go downhill pretty fucking fast.
Right. There's a famous comedian that said, let's not judge our life by the amount of years we lived, but how good those years were while they were with us.
Exactly.
Part of me agrees with that, but the other part of me is like, I want to be around for a while. And yes, I
Hmm.
agree. We should take care of ourselves. and
Yeah.
I want to be able to, live for a long time and not hurt and be in pain and stuff like that. But if I'm in pain, or whatever the case may be, yeah, I'm ready to tap out, but I don't have that
Yeah.
fuck it mechanism, that a lot of people seem to get.
Hmm.
I want to live happy. I want to live safely, just like most people. There's a lot of stuff that I want to experience that, that I'm not able to do, and or right now do.
Hmm.
And I honestly think the biggest problem that Americans have right now is time management.
Oh, 100%.
We just got to think about where we spend a lot of our time at. Like, all right, so when I was I don't want to say kid, but when I was in a band, I was, you know, in my 20s, dude, I can go to work, working overtime out in the heat, come home, shower, eat, chill for a minute, and then go directly to band practice, come home at 11 o'clock at night or better, wash, rinse, repeat, doing it, you know, every other day like that. But still going back to the same hard ass job, busting rock, digging graves, whatever I was doing, and go and do more stuff.
Hmm.
If I tried to even like think about playing music these days with you just myself and try to record something, it feels like I have no time at all to do anything extra other than what I'm doing now. And I know what the problem is. It's I'm wanting to sit on my ass. I want to watch YouTube. I want to watch, TV. I want to, the main thing, sit around on my ass instead of getting up and do. And I
Right.
think that's the main
Exactly. And
thing. If I could just like put all the bullshit out of my life
uh
and just start doing things, then I think that right there will help.
well, if, yeah, and that's the hard part is just like I have a fairly physically demanding job. For people that don't know, when you as a surgical tech and doctors and everybody that's at the sterile field, we don't get to sit down.
No.
And if whether the case is 10 minutes or 10 hours,
Hmm.
obviously you get lunch breaks and somebody will come in and check on you if you have good coworkers, you know what I mean, which I do. And if you've been in there a while, they'll pop their head in and say, "Hey, do you need a break? Do you need to go to the bathroom, whatever." But when you have a physically demanding job or any job, whether it's mentally or physical, it's you when you're done at the end of the day, all you want to do is zone out, find some sort of something that brings you a little bit of joy,
Hmm.
and that helps you relax,
Right.
and the idea of
Doing anything extra.
it's not easy to get done an 8, 10, 12 hour day and then want to go for a 4 mile walk. Nobody
Right.
wants to do that, so there are people, but they're fucking weird. If I'm being honest, it's like calm down, like you don't really need, I mean, and those people are just more disciplined. But
Yeah.
if you can, if you can get up and walk to the refrigerator to grab a candy bar or to grab a soda, you can 100% get up and go for a walk around your block.
Yeah.
The whole point is you can't stop moving. If you stop moving, then it just gets to be it gets to be a dangerous slope.
Yeah, just like that old commercial they used to say, "A body in motion remains in motion. A body that's still remains still," or whatever the fuck it was.
Mhm. Right. Well, it's like for me, like when we like, I'm usually up moving around throughout the day, even when I'm not at work. So like right now, or when we're doing the show, I'm not used to sitting here for long periods of time because it actually starts to hurt.
Right.
Like it hurts my back, it hurts my hips. So I have to get up. There's been times that I've told you when we're having a difficult episode that I need to get up and walk around for a little bit
Mhm.
because it's starting to hurt. So moderate weight training can help with your bone density as you get older because as you age, your bones can get this stuff called osteoporosis, which is where it's basically like I don't want to say it's a calcium deficiency, but it lack of a better term, it's where the bones weaken. And one thing that helps prevent that is weight training. And it doesn't need to be like substantial. I mean, you don't need to be Ronnie Coleman friggin' squatting 8 million pounds. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But weight training, and also ex- when you grow the muscle, it actually helps with um, the use of the body's sugar. It helps the glucose gets used more because the muscle's bigger. And I'm not saying you need to look like Sam Sulik, or anything like that. And for the love of God, don't, I mean, ask his cardiologist how he's doing. Yeah, he looks like $1 million, but his heart is not, he's only 22. He's not able to sustain that. but because Trini thing is possible. But um, he just, I mean, and good for him. I don't give a shit. I think most athletes should be on steroids unless it's a combat sport, but that's neither here or there. So when you have the muscle gets, it'll absorb the glucose better, which then gives you better insulin resistance and yada yada yada. So it's just you don't need to do a lot, but do enough to make it to where you feel good, and that's
Right.
it's it. And it's just you like I remember about 2 years ago, I lived a very sedentary lifestyle. I didn't do a lot. I wasn't working. I was on a medical sabbatical, and I got lazy. I'll admit that. I still took care of the home. I still did my, what I was supposed to do. But as far as like a workout, shit, no, I didn't do it. And I got fat. And my doctor's like, hey, stop it.
Calm
So,
down.
right, you need to do something, punky. So, I went and I started working out, and I probably hit it a little too hard and dropped like 20 pounds in a month because I had that kind of time.
Mhm.
Finding that balance and finding the time and the energy to do it is insane. It's
Yeah.
not. It's just hard to do for some people.
But see, as far as working out, and like it's very true for me too. When I get in there and I start working out at a gym, I see the results, and then that right there is a goal that I want to chase because I'm very goal driven,
Yeah,
and that gets addicting. And then
yeah,
you start to build up, and you're like, "Oh, I like this," and then you get bigger and bigger and bigger, and you don't even think about shit, and all of a sudden you're like,
yeah,
"Whoa, holy shit!" But
yeah.
once you stop working out, all that muscle goes to the gut, so gravity takes control, and it's all going south.
I can't go after work. I have to do it first thing in the morning because if I don't, I'm not doing it. And so I call it swallowing the frog. I get up at 4:45, 5 days a week, and usually, except for Wednesdays. Wednesdays are generally my cardio day because I don't like to do cardio at the gym that much. I like to go. I would rather go for a walk in the woods with my girlfriend or something like that. So, gym at 5:30, and I'm there for a half hour, 45 minutes doing weights. And then when I don't go, I feel like shit, and not just physically, like mentally.
Oh no, I totally agree.
Yeah, if I take an extended break from the gym, I'm like, "Oh god, everything hurts, I feel like crap."
Well, it's also too for me, it's like I've mentally let down myself, and therefore
100%.
I beat myself
Yeah.
up more than I should.
Oh, yeah, I am my own worst critic, brother. I don't if any like, people can, criticize me all they want, but trust me, it ain't shit I have not said to myself.
Right, right. Yeah, like, and you were talking about your lifestyle being more physically demanding. Mine is more mentally demanding. I work as a
Mhm.
drafter, therefore, it's like a lot of thought has to go into things. And people think, well, you just draw and erase lines. Well, motherfucker, I gotta pay attention to stuff because every line represents something, and I got to make sure that I'm drawing the right line somewhere. If not, building falls down, a problem goes out in the field, and I don't want to be responsible for some group of people's death, and that's a very real thing.
I
So
mean, I don't know why you would wanna not be responsible for human lives, Tim. I
I
mean,
know,
come
right?
on.
Just being a little greedy for myself here. It's
Jesus.
just- but my main thing is like, yeah, I'm always going to be a student at this job. I never feel like I'm going to be one of these people that's going to know everything there is. And then once I get to that
Mhm.
position, I need to leave because that's when I'm going to fuck up.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's with my job too. I've been at it 25 years, and you learn something different all the time,
Hmm.
and it's like the moment you're not learning is the moment you need to move on.
Back to the story though, it's like my main thing is my job is a sit down job.
Mhm.
Even you've even said, "Hey, well, why don't you get one of those stand up desks?" For me, I shouldn't have this, but I have the ability where I can sit down all day and physically I feel okay, right? I
Yeah,
don't work very well standing up. I mean, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I mean, I had the stand up stuff over there when I was in the office, and honestly, I'm standing up for maybe 5-10 minutes and I'm back on my ass. And that's mainly because one, at the time I had an issue with my ankle. Now I'm doing a little bit better. But concrete, being on concrete is just like terrible for my legs, especially where my weight is. And
right.
when I started my weight loss journey, I started 236, and my
Mhm.
I've been at 225 for a while. Then I started noticing the numbers going up, and when I hit 236, I was like, you know what, fuck it, done. So that's when
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I need something that's going to be simplistic enough for my little pea brain to understand, you know,
Mhm.
and that's why I chose the carnivore diet, because it just seemed like it was a good reset, and granted, it was like I lost a lot of weight immediately, but then things started to like come back on. So I'm kind of still hovering around the 225 mark. I want to get away from the
Mhm.
225s. I want to get away from the 200 numbers. If I could get down to 160, that'd be great. But it's just really going to require me to diet and exercise.
Yeah, and hydrating properly and everything like that too.
Yeah,
It helps, and that's the big thing is just being in that caloric deficit. It doesn't matter what you eat.
yeah,
It just having that wiggle room in your, like you can't just overeating is what really causes obesity. It's
yeah.
not sugar, it's not whatever. It's just overeating.
I agree with you there too, because like a lot of my dishes are like big dishes, like a big bowl of, and me, the big thing for me was like I could eat a big bowl of rice and whatever the heck else I was eating at the time, and it just be gone, And the problem is I eat until I'm full. I don't, you know, and that's when I was eating all the bad stuff.
Mhm.
But now it's like I may eat once or twice a day because I'm just satiated from the carnivore diet, and like meat will fill you up. And I mean, it's still a developing diet. There's a lot of information
Right.
that's not known about it. And but a lot of people said that, one, that their mental clarity is there. There's less inflammation in the body because of it or whatever. And granted, it's not a diet for everybody. And one of the doctors that I follow, his name is Dr. Sean Baker. And I will totally say anybody that wants to go look at this diet, just go ahead and look at his stuff. But then I want you to look at other people and
Mhm.
watch where they say that the carnivore diet's bad and see what they did. And like a lot of people, when they start doing things wrong with the diet, like start incorporating things other than meat into their diet, or
Mhm.
then it fucks them up. And then they're like, well, it didn't work for me. No, you didn't follow the diet correctly the way that they are telling you.
Right.
You were doing a version. You were doing your version. We've tried your version. Do the right version now.
Right. Well, it's like I think I mentioned earlier. I said, I think the the carnivore diet would be great, for but I don't know how well it'll be
Long term.
long term because I've seen people that have gotten on the carnivore diet, or I recently have seen people got on the carnivore diet and been on it for a year or two, and it fucks up their glucose. It brings in the pre-diabetic range. So, and then those people have gone back to a regular diet. So I don't know what Dr. Baker does because I know he solely does the carnivore diet because it's his diet, from what I understand.
Well, it's his diet too. And then Jordan Peterson and his daughter is also on it.
But the difference with those guys is because he eats meat and salt because he has an autoimmune problem.
Right. And so does his
So his
daughter. And it's
Yeah,
helped
and that's
helped his daughter out with
yeah,
inflammation. And when they went to the
right.
carnivore diet, all their problems went away. Now, just like
Yeah.
we're discussing here, it's
Mhm.
no diet, period, works for everybody. We have different,
Mhm.
physiology, we have different blood types, we have all different types of shit. And that's as
Mhm.
far as my medical knowledge goes with any of this stuff. You have to do what works well with you.
Well, yeah, it's also a basis of common sense. It's like I know that because I'm a larger person, my caloric needs are not going to be the same as somebody else's. Now, do I need a 7,000 calorie a day diet? No, and I don't eat a 7,000 calorie a day diet. In order for me to maintain what I have and to have the proper energy levels, I'm going to need more food. Maybe not a great deal more, but a little bit more than the person that's 5'6" and 100 pounds, or 120 pounds.
Right.
So, I think with that being said, I just, you have to find out what works for you. But the important to me, the two big factors of not being obese and having a healthier lifestyle is being a caloric deficit and exercise.
Mhm.
I'm a big believer in don't cheat yourself, treat yourself. If you want to have a donut once a week, have a donut once a week or 3 donuts. It doesn't matter cuz calories are calories, but if you have if you have those 3 donuts in a day, those are calories you've expended or that you've had and you can't have it elsewhere. Does that make sense?
It does, but I'm kinda laughing. Um, Me being a Tennessee boy, I listen to a lot of Dave Ramsey, and he's not a dietitian, he's a financial officer, basically, and, anytime somebody fucks up with their finances, he's like, "No!" And I'm pretty sure somewhere there's a dietitian listening to this, and they're going, "No!"
I mean, sure. I mean, I am definitely not a dietitian, and I don't know, I don't claim to be, and neither do you. But the point is life is short enough, and if you want to go eat the grass in your front yard, go ahead. I don't care. But I'm gonna eat what I want to eat within reason. I'm not gonna cram a bunch of sweets in my face because I just don't like that shit.
Yeah.
If it's in front of me, I'll try. If it's something I haven't had before, as because of my culinary curiosity, because of being a chef. Like the other day, I had a donut that had guava in it. I've never had that before, and it's like freaking crack. It was so good. I had half of this thing, and that's enough. Because I know I had other food that I wanted to eat that day. There is the mentality that I actually told my girlfriend recently. I said it's something that's good. It's bad for the body, but good for the soul.
Yeah.
So there's sometimes that you have to go and you have to have that thing that you're craving.
Mhm.
Because if you don't, and you just I mean, you might feel like crap after you eat it. Fine. Like the other day, I had pizza and I felt like absolute hot dog water. That's fine. I knew it was going to happen. I felt stiff and gross, but
As opposed to cold dog water.
I mean, whatever trips your trigger, my friend. Um, but it's just it's one of those things where I knew I was going to feel like shit, but I ate it anyways because I was craving it. So I
Mhm.
satisfied the craving, and I'm not going to have it for a few months now. You know.
Yeah. Like, for me, I've been on this diet for, uh, as of today, a full month, or, yeah, 30 days. However, I had a work event I had to go to this past Friday, and it was a baseball game, and the thing that sucked was I was looking at all the food options, and there was nothing that I could have done about eating something that was going to suit my diet. And I even ate before I left, but it was getting to be late, and I kind of wanted something to eat because I was just getting a little famished, and I had a 2-hour drive, and I wanted the energy to drive. What I had was it was like a big pile of potatoes. It was like potato wedges. It was lightly breaded, and it had like pulled pork on top, and then it was like
Jesus
covered in
Christ.
like a queso cheese sauce. Dude, it was delicious, right?
My brother in Christ.
I know.
What the fuck? That just sounds like I
It,
just shit my pants.
well,
I mean,
I'm
when
not
you
gonna.
said potatoes, I was like, okay, potatoes are cool. Whatever. All right, cool. But then you said, oh, pulled pork. I'm like, what the fuck?
It
I
was a
mean,
barbecue
I bet
joint.
it was delicious.
Oh my god,
I mean,
dude!
I bet it was delicious, but
It was
good
fat
God,
kid happiness, right?
of course.
However,
Like I said, bad for the body, good for the soul.
yeah, well, it was a double-edged sword for me because, man, the mental trip that I went on after I ate, and I couldn't even like, eat a quarter of this stuff. It was so heavy, right? Because like when I picked the stuff up, it was in like this big tray. I was like, God damn, I didn't really need all this food, man. I mean, yeah, I look fat, but God.
It's like, yeah, here's a giant tray of fucking food, you fat fucking pig. Here, enjoy it. Put it down your throat.
Yeah, they would have had to have a
Yeah.
forklift to lift my ass out of there if I would have ate all that
Yeah.
food. But man, the next day, dude, my body hated me. I'll just leave it at that. But the mental trip that I went on too, like I was just like, fuck, I was wanting to do 30 days without any fucking cheat days. And here I am being an asshole to myself. And
Mhm.
and that's the main thing too. It's like for me, it's just like that was stressing me out more than the actual deed itself because I was wanting to
Yeah.
like stay true. But thinking about it, I did do 4 solid weeks.
Yeah, and I mean, it was one meal. It's not like and it wasn't even a full meal. You ate a portion of it, and you're like, okay, I'm done,
Yeah,
cool.
because if I would
But
have ate the
like
whole thing,
so,
it'd have been like, "Cleared."
yeah, exactly. I can't feel my blood moving. What's going on?
Yeah.
But
My blood type is tapioca.
yeah, blood type is heart disease. But no,
Woo!
um, fucking what was it? There was this years ago when I was in my bodybuilding, not bodybuilding, but I was like working out like, consistently, and I was getting huge. And one of the people that I used for inspiration at the time before, because I used to be a big wrestling fan. Triple H.
Mhm.
I enjoyed his wrestling, and he did a book, and it had, it was part autobiographical, part, workout book. So he was talking about one of the wrestlers. They went to Denny's for a meal, and one of the wrestlers was like, he wanted his hash browns steamed, not fried. Now I don't know what kind of sick fuck likes steamed hash browns, but anyways, and he was he was
Cardinal
losing his
sin.
mind because the hash browns came out, like on from the griddle, not steamed. And he said, because you brought it up, the mental aspect of it. Sometimes when you have this, uh, the worry of eating the thing is worse than actually eating the thing. Does that
Right.
make sense? Because
100%, because that's the
it's
bullshit that
what
I
like
put myself through.
yeah. Well, one time, for work, not my current job, but a job years and years ago, I used to make these cheesecake brownies. Right, so it's just basically it's a brownie with a cheesecake mix in it, or cheesecake batter.
My blood is thickening right now.
I know, right? I can feel my left foot going away. But
Poof.
what was it? Diabetes. But no, so there was a woman there. She was doing this like boot camp thing, after work every day, and she's like wringing her hands about eating this a sliver. I mean, like a quarter of an inch sliver of this cheesecake brownie. I said, the stress that you're putting on your body right now for that is worse than eating a big square of that cheesecake brownie.
Yeah, and I tell you, stress does play a key role in things because if you go to work, and work is usually where all the stress happens, unless you're at home and you're around a bunch of assholes, right?
Right.
If that's the case, I'd say change your environment, but change your environment regardless. If you're putting yourself under a lot of stress, I know cortisol is part of, a byproduct of stress, and that in your body in large amounts of whatever that fucking is,
Right.
can, cause you to want to do something that will be, uh, like a treat for yourself because you've been abused all day, and now the only thing that you can find comfort in or find that uh, what is that chemical in your brain that's
Oh, dopamine.
dopamine? Yes, you get that dopamine rush for when you're eating a treat.
Well, it actually, funny. I'm glad you brought that up because the dopamine you get from food does not come from your brain.
Does it come from your ass?
No, it comes can no, it comes actually because you have dopamine sensors in your stomach, and that's why we gain so much pleasure from eating food. So when someone goes through a gastric bypass surgery, right, what they do is they cut those dopamine sensors because it shortens the stomach. Like it depends on the type of. So there's a couple of different ways you can do a gastric bypass. One is called it's an old school called Roux-en-Y. Just Google it, folks. I can't explain it because it's and I've been working in surgery for 20 almost 24 years. And then the other one is a gastric sleeve,
Hmm.
which is where they just
Put a rubber band over you, basically.
no. They actually cut the stomach. They don't take it out. It just I haven't done a lot of this, so I don't really know. But so there's two approaches: the Roux-en-Y and the gastric sleeve. And basically, what these procedures do is they take away the pleasure sensors of food. So
It's almost like getting circumcised. Jesus Christ.
I know, man. I mean, it's like technically it is. You're circumcising the stomach,
Yeah,
which everybody can lose weight through diet and exercise.
true.
Okay, and I'm not shaming anybody for getting gastric surgery. I'm not. But a lot of these people, they don't sustain it because they don't realize the full. You can't have sugar of any type. I mean, you might no carbonation whatsoever because if it overinflates what's left of the stomach, it could pop the suture line.
Hmm.
And I'm obviously brushing with a broad stroke here, a broad brush. So that's what the dopamine comes from the stomach, not the brain. So that was a little long rant to get there, but that's what that is. So
Welcome back.
that's where that pleasure response comes from food. And also, yes, cortisol that you were talking about it's a steroid that is naturally occurring in the body.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole thing is, I mean, health is beyond me. And the thing is too, it's like the older you get, the harder things get. But also too, it's a mind game.
Right.
A lot of people have heard the old saying, "Mind over matter," and yes, 100% mind over matter.
Hmm.
If you have something stuck in your mind that you're going to do, then do it. Stick to it. It'll work.
Yeah. Well, and it's also a matter of you have to have. It's like we said in the last episode about the freedom of speech thing. You have to have this line in the sand.
Hmm.
For me, my line in the sand was I just didn't like the way I felt. I didn't like the way I looked, and I had just this gut. I'm like, it's time to get rid of it. And
Yeah.
there was other, I have a predisposition in my family for diabetes, so I wanted to start negating that.
You like walking on your 2 feet, right?
Exactly. I mean, and I actually need a left foot because I ride a motorcycle,
There you go.
so got to shift.
Yeah, and for me, it's like my line in the sand was I knew I was getting bigger, but then the number came up and I was like, "Oh shit. Yep. That's why."
I weighed 240 when I was 17.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, because I used to compete in martial arts.
When I was 17, I weighed 110 pounds soaking wet with 2 bricks in my pockets.
Yeah, no, I wish. I haven't weighed there hasn't been a one in front of my weight since I was about 17 or 14. I can't tell. But
Gee.
it's just, like I said, I have strong Viking lineage.
Me, I have
Anyways,
strong hobbit lineage. It's just
I mean,
terrible.
you are built like a hobbit fucked an otter. I'm not gonna
I
lie.
know, right? Look, I got to get that ring, all right?
That's right, Frodo.
It's just one of the stories about me, and this is true. Anybody that knows me when I was younger can attest to this. But when I was a kid, I was anorexic,
Yeah,
and it was just there was nothing going wrong in my life. I had a great childhood. It's just I didn't want to eat, and then that led
right.
to them trying to figure out what was wrong with me, and they did, discover that I had to get a tonsillectomy and adenoids were had to be removed and all that, whatever. But it still didn't really help. It was more like I didn't want to eat. I wasn't hungry. I wanted to go outside and play. I didn't want to fuck
Right.
around and eat this stuff. And like I have no problem with food. I like all types of food. I didn't have any problems with a whole bunch of food. I don't like eating exotic like meats like brain, liver, stuff like that. Or
Well,
uh,
yeah. Well,
I
you
mean,
should never eat brain to begin with, but
well, you know, Southerners do. They eat brains and eggs and all types of other disgusting shit that I didn't want to eat, like pig feet and like chitlins. Oh, yeah, I know.
oh god, and for those of you who don't know what chitlins are,
Poop track.
that is the intestines of an animal.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
it smells exactly how you think it would when it's cooking. It is nasty.
it smells like an outhouse during the summer.
Oh, yeah, it's terrible.
Imagine how bad that just stinks.
Right, and see, my family used to be hog farmers and such, so we always have fresh pork and stuff during the winter. Some of
Right.
the best memories of my life doing that stuff, and lot of good food. Uh,
Mhm.
long story long. Um, but it's like, so I had anorexia, and once I got into my adult life, I started gaining weight as a employee of the cemetery because I needed to like build up because I was actually getting beat up by a 90-pound jackhammer when the jackhammer is like 20 pounds less than what you are. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
problem. The first time I got
Right.
on the jackhammer, dude, I was like,
Well, what I
it's
wanna know is
terrible.
what fucking mental midget put you and your little buck 10 ass on a jackhammer. What supervisor did that shit? Way to go, you
No,
fucking
it's
Nobel laureate.
what you have to understand. The best way to toughen up is to jump in the fire. It's just you gotta get in there and work. I mean,
Hmm.
I needed to
Yeah,
be
I guess.
built up. I needed to learn a lesson about my life, and honestly, there's nothing about my past that I would take back with that right there
Right.
because there's a lot that I needed to learn. I needed to be an adult. There's a lot of things that I was shielded from as a child, no fault to my parents. They were just trying to protect me. But
Right.
there's a lot of things that I missed out on. But it's like for me, it's like getting into that right there, it made me realize, yeah, I'm lifting a lot of heavy shit and I need to be able to lift it. And I went to a gym, started working out, and then I didn't have the money to continue that. So me and a buddy was working out, and that was also some really good memories there that I do miss. But it's like once I got into my adulthood, and then I actually started to like get the stress of bills, and I didn't have a skill set at the time, so therefore, the only thing I was qualified for was a ditch digger. So
Mhm.
I didn't have an education. I dropped out of high school. I didn't even have my GED at the time. And then, found my wife and she was like, get your ass in there and do your education or goodbye. And I was like, fuck, and then I did my
Right.
thing and here I am. But the problem that occurred is once I actually started getting into all that right there, then I started, losing finances. I had to make some choices, so I had to, go on a different path. And my stress level went to the moon, and I just started making bad choices with food. I defeated the shit out of anorexia because then I got fat, and that's not a good trophy to have.
That's the Well, no, that's you went the opposite end of it. You went from being anorexic to being, I guess what could
Obese,
be considered obese.
yes,
Yeah, so
yeah,
it's
not a good thing.
overcompensating in its purest form, yeah.
Yeah, and there was really no reason for what I was doing, just making bad choices. But now that I'm
Right.
older, I'm a little bit more wiser about it.
Right. Well, I think that kinda goes back to the conversation we were having earlier about, time management and all that, like, if you're being honest with yourself, like we said before, I don't wanna be repetitive about what we already talked about, but when you come home from work, you wanna find something quick, easy, and that way you can do what you enjoy to do because you've been at work all day, and let's face it, most people don't really enjoy being at work, you know?
No, trust me, I can find a million and one things to do other than go to work, but I like paying my bills and I like being able to eat. So,
Yeah, exactly. It boils down to not having the work life balance that we are sorely lacking in this country. Now, I'm not saying that we need to go and be like, Europe and do like socialist medicine and all that stuff. That's a whole different topic, a whole different episode. I went to Italy in 2021. I know people are probably tired of me talking about that know me, but it was such a great experience. And I was in Florence, and me and the person I was with were having lunch on a sidewalk cafe there. Everybody was happy because they had that work life balance there. I think they have a 32-hour work week. That being said, I think we've kind of talked about what we needed to say here is just eat healthy foods, eat good foods, do what's best for you, learn how to manage your stress properly, and find good outlets, all this stuff is easier said than done. I understand that, but the most important thing is that you have to take care of yourself. No one's going to do that for you, whether you're in a relationship or single or whatever. You need to take priority over your health and your well being,
yes.
and that's all I got to really say about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've said everything that we needed to say. It's weird that the timing has already gotten to where we're at. It's already in September. This year is going by pretty quick. And when this episode airs, it'll be on the 4th. And the following week is 9/11.
Yeah,
It's hard to believe that one of the world's harshest tragedies happened 23 years ago.
I know. But that sounds like our next episode.
All right.
Actually, real quick, I wanted to give somebody a really big shout out, and that's to you, Tim.
What?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for all the hard work you put into the show,
Oh, thank you.
and it doesn't go unnoticed.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
And also to the listeners, we appreciate you listening, and without you, we're nothing. And as always, follow the questions.
Find the truth.